Kyoto Animation is known for its moe characters, beautiful art style, and heartbreaking stories, but what we don't know it for is for blood, violence, and action sequences. In today's anime review, Kyoto Animation gives us just that, so let's dive into the series Beyond the Boundary. Grab your tea and let's get into the show. Hey guys, so today I'm just drinking water, no tea, so no tea time. Before I dive too much into Beyond the Boundary, I just wanted to say that this month marked the 1-year anniversary of the Kyoto Animation fire, and it's to this day, like it really breaks my heart, like with the events that happened to that studio. It's so tragic, even to this day, like an entire year later. So I'm grateful for all the people that gave money to like KyoAni to rebuild and like get the equipment that they need to continue putting out shows just like they have before, and continue creating. Crunchyroll has a beautiful article where they interviewed the director of Kyoto Animation and like his process moving forward, and like there's a part in there where there's parts in there that had made me cry. So it was really beautiful to hear that they're trying to just continue making beautiful artwork. But let's get right on into Beyond the Boundary, one of my favorite Kyoto Animation works. There's probably no Kyoto Animation work I don't like, but I haven't seen them all yet. I'm still working my way through them. There's so many. But of the ones that I've seen and of the ones that I've watched when I was younger specifically, Beyond the Boundary really stood out to me for its action, its beautiful art as always, its adorable characters, and of course its romance. So this series has a lot of action, a lot of romance, and a lot of just stuff you don't usually see in Kyoto Animation works. Well, besides the romance, because obviously they always have that. So let's get right on into the plot. Akihito is a half-human, half-yomu, which are spirit world monsters, and that combination makes him immortal. He one day encounters a girl named Mirai who looks like she's about to jump off of a building. But little does he know that she's actually a spirit world warrior whose purpose is to fight and destroy Yomu, which happens to also include Akihito. So in the very first episode, we get to see her stab him in the chest. That's a good way to start off an anime, right? Adorable girl with red glasses stabs a guy in the heart, and that is how the story begins. So this story is jam-packed with a lot of stuff for a 12-episode only anime, but luckily we also get a movie, which I'll be talking about towards the end of this review. Lots of stuff, lots of context. They introduce almost all the characters are introduced in the first like 2 to 3 episodes, and there's not a ton, so it's not that bad, but a lot of different parts of the story are also introduced in the first 2 to 3 episodes, and it's very confusing. Hop right on into what I love about this anime, which is 2 parts, but the first part is the action sequences are gorgeous. They're not going to be something you see in like God of High School or Kengan Ashura or Naruto with its hand-to-hand combat fights, but the blade wielding and the jumping off of buildings and flying through the sky and like all that crazy stuff that maybe is more similar to like Bleach, an anime like that, we get in this anime, and it's done gorgeously because it's Kyoto Animation, of course, and they make every single work of theirs beautiful. And it's really rare to see an action sequence from Kyoto Animation. We usually only see them do subtle little character animations and gorgeous scenery backdrops. That's what they have usually tended to focus on, but not with this anime. They really, really went all out for the fight sequences and the world building and things like that. So it looks phenomenal. Talk about its characters. So we have the classic girl meets boy situation, boy meets girl kind of stuff that goes on in anime. Like I said, our glasses perv, which is Akihito himself. We have our cute but clumsy main girl, Mirai, who is adorable. She's the cutest thing ever. I love her so much. Her little pink hair and her glasses, and she's just so awkward and adorable. She's perfect. And we have our classic tsundere, which is Mitsuki, and we have her older brother who unfortunately has a little sister fetish, which bothers me to the furthest extent. But his character is actually really great, and his name is Hiromi. But then we also get a few older characters that are super interesting, but they're also very much background, so we don't get a lot about them literally until the movie. Before I move on, make sure to subscribe to the Anime Tea. New episodes out every Wednesday and Saturday at 5 p.m. PST. Well, let's hop into my second favorite aspect of the show and of shows in general, which is the romance. And the romance in this is done pretty darn well. There's a lot of the action, like I mentioned before, and then of course there's this romance that buds between main characters, and what we get to see between them doesn't feel forced. Like some other anime, you can watch it and they're like, okay, girl, boy, they're automatically gonna fall in love, but what do they really have in common? They just like each other for whatever random reason. Like, they dropped their letter on the floor and then someone else picked it up and gave it to them, and then they're in love with them for 3 years. Yeah, that's not it. With this one, even though it's a little strange because Mirai is literally trying to kill Akihito every chance she gets, at least in the first few episodes, we get to see them bond over their shared kind of misery. Mirai has a really dark backstory that she's trying to get over or overcome, and Akihito is a half human, half Yomu, and he's the only one of his kind, so he's trying to deal with being different from everyone else and not, and just fitting in, literally. So they bond over their shared inability to kind of fit in and belong anywhere, and I feel like that's a good solid base for a romance. That's a good start. And then of course it just builds from there. So my third favorite thing about the show is the fantasy element. The fantasy elements in the show are so freaking cool. Since the world is technically like our world, they go to school, they try to live normal lives technically, but it's all underlined by the fact that Yomu exists and that the spirit world warriors exist. And we also have different types of world warriors. Like I said, the Nase family is very specific type of powers and lineage. And then we have Mirai's background. She's from the Cursed Blood clan. So she basically can use her blood to fight. So that's why whenever you see her, she's dripping blood. And it makes her super awesome sword thing. And then there's different things like that, as well as the Yomu look different. They have different types. There are 2 humanoid Yomu in the series that are super cute. Love them as well. And there's also, Akihito, who's half, and different kinds of Yomu in different ways that they look. So the creatures and the world building and the lineage and all that, super cool. But again, it's just a lot thrown at you at one time. I really wish this series had at least 24 episodes. And if not 24 episodes, at least had been broken up into 2 seasons rather than 1 season, an OVA, and a movie, because there's so much that can be explored. There was so much introduced, but barely half of it was explained in season 1, and then almost the other half was explained in the movie, but a lot more questions came up. I didn't even get to what Beyond the Boundary actually is. I won't explain exactly what it is, but you're gonna see it in the show. This giant, almost parallel looking world that can encapsulate a lot of power from the spirit world and Yomu and things like that. Seeing the parallel world and the regular world reflected is a really cool scene. I love that scene. I think they did a phenomenal job animating that art style. Okay. And the last main component of the show is the last main 2 that I'm gonna throw together is the drama and comedy. So there is actually some pretty good drama in this, and we're used to seeing Kyoto Animation works with a lot of drama, like in A Silent Voice or in Violet Evergarden, where there's just a lot of darker undertones with things going on, characters not understanding each other, and other complex things like that. But in this show, for drama, we do get mostly between Akihito being half human and half Yomu, Mirai trying to deal with her past and being a cursed and having her cursed power, trying to fit in. All those things are kind of slightly, to me at least, undermined by the comedy. But the comedy that they do bring in is pretty funny. It's pretty good timing, except for one scene, which I won't spoil it. I'll throw up a no context spoiler on the screen of the one scene I'm talking about that I hate. It was supposed to be so like a kind of deep moment where someone talked about how they felt and then they said what they said, and it was like, this isn't what, how does, what? There's all that. And I feel like also at the end of the show is when we get a lot more of the drama, but then the drama is taken to like the max because they do the same thing where they did in the beginning and just add on more stuff and make things more complicated, I think, for the sake of making it more complicated. But where this show's saving grace is in the OVA and in the movie. It has one OVA, it's called Episode 0. You can watch it on High Dive, and it goes into Akihito's background and how he met the Nase family, which was super cool. I liked that. I like seeing more of Akihito when he wasn't himself in the show, especially because it's slightly more serious than what we get in the show. And something else that's also slightly more serious is the movie, which I cannot talk about enough. Literally the saving grace for me for this show, because when I was watching it, I was so disappointed that there was just so many things left open-ended that we didn't get to understand. There's things introduced at the very last episode that we wouldn't have gotten closure for if it wasn't for this movie. So I'm very grateful for the movie. There's actually two movies. There's a recap movie called Beyond the Boundary, I'll Be Here Past, and then the movie that comes right after the show is Beyond the Boundary, I'll Be Here Future. So watch that if you've already seen Beyond the Boundary and want to see the movie, or if you want to watch the recap movie since it's already just thrown all together, you can just watch it and then watch the new movie, or not the new movie, then watch the future movie, and everything will make a lot more sense. Not everything, most things make a lot more sense. There's some things that they added on there that I don't know why, but that's because the series had so much content to explore that they could have literally dove into like 24 to like 50 episodes. But, you know, budgeting constraints and popularity make it hard for a lot of anime like that. And most importantly, it gives us the satisfying romance elements that we deserve. I would recommend this series for someone who likes romance but also wants some action and drama in there, because you know you get tired of just seeing people are just slowly falling in love every episode. Like, that's cute, but like, can you give me more? Can you give me action, give me fight scenes, give me drama, give me something? So this show definitely gives you that, plus the movie. It's all great. If you want to watch the OVA and the movies, you can watch it on High Dive. Hi, High Dive, sponsor me. But and if you want to watch the show, you can watch it on High Dive, Crunchyroll. Yeah, I highly recommend it for people who are like me and just want a little bit of action in their romance, a little bit of romance in their action, but actually well-developed romance, and it's actually good, and the women characters are written well. Give that a try and let me know if you liked it in the comments below. If you would watch the movie, if you have watched the movie, we can talk about it. Talk about stuff with me, guys. Like, I love that movie so much. It's literally fantastic. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.